DVD, two brothers' alphabetical journey through an apocalyptic-sized DVD collection that could only be in our heads. I'm Josh.
I'm Noah.
And today we're talking about Take Shelter, a 2011 movie.
Mm-hmm. It's like I get to use my advanced degree on this one. It's
Yes.
It's not just film. This is a psychologically intense movie. And it's like, I want to give kudos up front that they did a really good job showing the
Mental health problems.
Exactly. And also, to our very small audience,
Yes.
it's like, this is one of those things, like, if you're having a mental health issue,
Yes.
whether it be depression or paranoid schizophrenia, it is important to talk to people, especially people you trust and love,
Yes.
and get the help. The sooner, the better.
Yes. This movie fits... it is a mental health movie. That is what I would qualify it as.
Mm-hmm.
But it's questionable because even like IMDb doesn't know what to put it as. It's like, oh, it's a drama / sci-fi / thriller. I would, yeah. I mean, it's how you interpret the movie that either any one of those fit.
The end definitely spins it on its head, and we'll get to that. But
Yeah.
it's like when you said like, oh, it's a post-apocalyptic.
Well, I never said it was an apocalyptic, / not.
Yeah, and it's like this is going through my lens as a mental health clinician. It's like, oh no, this is a mental health crisis movie.
Yes, and that is the strongest of the interpretations.
Yes.
I feel. It did decently for an indie movie. It did 1.7 million. So,
oh wow, good for them.
It's.
Because I had never heard of this.
Yeah, now this came as a suggestion when I was in film school from a guy who loved these type of slow, introspective movies, and this was the only one that I went, I actually enjoyed watching that. The others I was fine watching, but never really cared to share, pass it along. This was the only one I went, no, this was done well. It was directed by Jeff Nichols. He had done Midnight Special, Mud, and Loving. And he has used a lot of these actors in things like Mud. Mm-hmm. So clearly everyone liked working together.
Yeah.
The main character, Michael Shannon, who plays Curtis, you might know him from Knives Out, Man of Steel, 99 Homes.
And also
Boardwalk
Empire, I think is his big...
was his big breakouts. Jessica Chastain plays his wife, Samantha. She was in Zero Dark 30, Molly's Game, Interstellar.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
the bigger names.
The bigger things that she's been in, And then Sean Whigham, I don't know, he plays the friend of Dwart. He's in Splinter, Risk Cutter's A Love Story, Nonstop, Also Mud, things like that. Also, Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, I think he's a character actor that when you see him, you're like, that guy.
Yeah. And we kind of touched on it, but the synopsis of this is plagued by a series of apocalyptic visions. A young husband and father questions whether to shelter his family from a coming storm or from himself. Yeah. And that as synopsis is like, now that sums up the two ways of really viewing this movie. And this is a calm, quiet movie. I mean, it's not entire whisper film, but it is. You're getting a lot of breezes. You're getting a lot of silences.
There's a lot of non-verbal acting going on in this one.
Yeah.
But I think I come back to, I think I have to give it to Michael Shannon.
Shannon. Yeah, I think
he does an excellent job of portraying someone who is going through a mental health crisis. But what I like about it, it's not done like I'm going crazy, ha ha ha. It's someone who has had experience with mental health
in the family,
and that panic of, oh God,
is this it?
Oh God,
yeah.
Just like any of us, like if even like to like the lesser degree of like with the COVID thing is like, oh God, I have symptoms.
Yeah.
I'm freaking out a little bit, but I don't want to worry anyone. And that I think is the overarching theme of who do you tell, when do you tell, and how do you tell?
Yeah, because the movie opens up with these calm breezes and Michael Shannon looking off onto the horizon and seeing a storm, and doesn't seem out of place until it starts raining, but it's not rain, it's like motor oil. It's a yellowish,
dirty rain.
Yellowish liquid. And you're just like, oh, what is going on? And then it cuts to him like in the shower. He's woken up, and they meet the family. You know?
Yeah, and I think you don't realize off the bat about his dreams. That gets introduced, and you're like, okay, what is a dream and what is not?
Yeah.
But you do get this kind of, he's a family man. You find out his daughter is deaf.
Yeah,
and that they're dealing with a very stressful situation that and I'm going to big quote, like, a normal situation of they're trying to raise a daughter who has differences.
Yeah, and Tilda Stewart, who plays Hannah, their daughter, is an actual deaf girl, and they do have this real life situation of he's a blue collar worker. The money is tight. It's not they're not destitute. They have a house. They're keeping up, but Samantha, Jessica Chastain's character, is also going to the flea market working, and they are trying to save up to get a cochlear implant, to improve Hannah's life from their point of view.
Well, and they are showing, like, very subtly that she's not playing with other kids. And not in a worrisome way, but it's like she's obviously isolated because of her condition, and they want, as any parent does, wants to make their life easier. And they're also doing the thing of taking to classes so they can communicate with her better.
Now we get this is not a absent father. This is not a distant father. This is a blue collar father who's like, I got work, but I also love my family.
No, and I think that is shown off really well. That at first you're almost like, is he disconnected? Like, I don't want to do this. But no, as the movie goes, he is very invested in his daughter, and I think as the story goes on, because of his childhood, he's even more invested in his child and her well-being than I'd say the stereotypical blue-collar father would be portrayed.
And I like, because I've seen this happen, of they have a friend come over. I think the character's name was Nat. And it's like, oh, she's going to come over with her kids. They're going to play. And it's definitely I just need to have my kids play with someone else while I drink a drink and talk to you. And it's like, oh, yeah. It's like, you're not really helping, but you know what? I like having the company while I do other things.
But we get the first dream, the tornado dream.
Yes.
And these dream sequences are really visceral.
Yes.
They're very charged, and we get the dog attacking and him holding on to his daughter, and they're tornadoes. But what we start to see is that he starts to act weird after. He's very nervous about the dog, and I think we can all relate on some level of having that nightmare that you wake up and you still feel the feelings. And I think that would be what I want to kind of get across to the audience is it's not that he's thinking that the dog is going to hurt someone. It's a feeling, and that's the thing I think that this shows is that the feelings are real. And he even said there's a thing is like, you don't understand, this is how it feels. And I think that as a clinician, that is where you need to attach to is like, it's not the thoughts that are,
it's not a rational thing, it's a feeling.
It's a feeling, and those feelings are where the fear is real.
And he's like, his brain is making his arm hurt from that.
And he's like, and that is like, he knows there's nothing there, but he feels the pain.
And it's starting to affect his day-to-day life because he's kind of in a fog of senses of like, he's told to come home at a proper time to go for this appointment. It's like, I got it. It's like, well, you need to get home and clean, get to shower, and he's late. And they go to the school, and it's like, no, you need to get in the car. We need to go now. And it's for the school of the sign language. The sign language is the school for the deaf, so so Hannah can have more interactions. And it's that, you need to be here, but your brain's not letting you be here.
Well, and I think it's done well in the beginning. It's like, is he, in the fog, or is he just like, listen, he's. It's almost like it's playing with the expectation. He's an absent father. But they play it so well, like, when she's like, you smell awful. It's like, that could have been a fight. But he pivots it, and he makes a joke out of it. He makes the girl laugh. He makes the parents. It's like, listen, I know I screwed up. I'm not going to sit here and fight you. This is on me.
I said I'd be home, and I wasn't, and now I smell, and now I've embarrassed you, and I'm sorry.
And I will
hang a lampshade on that. I will make it
self-deprecating humor. But then he has a second.
The car crash dream.
Right, which I, upon reflecting and thinking about it, was wondering if, because he talks about later on that he was left in a car. and his mom never came back. It's like, I wonder, was he locked in that car
for a while,
and they had to burst and pull him out, and he has that same, that's like a sub-psychological feeling of like, oh God, I don't want them ever to take my daughter away from me.
And it's that he's always trying to protect, for most of the part, he's trying to protect Hannah.
Yes.
In all the dreams, he's trying to protect Hannah.
Exactly. And so we have him going to the public library. And I appreciate this. Is, we've talked about in other movies of a self-aware character saying, I know something is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm checking out books about mental health because I know, we find out later, I know mom had this. Am I checking these out?
Sure this, it's very similar to the Dallas Buyers Club of, I can deny it or I can research it, and I'm going to research it instead.
Right. But then we also get him going into the storm shelter, and it's an anchor. He feels safe here. It's the first place he feels safe.
It's that I need to do something.
Well, and with someone who is having paranoid schizophrenia, to have a place that feels safe, either in a person or in a building, is key, because like, I can be grounded here. I know for at least the moment that I feel safe.
And for my advanced degree of film, he's now in the hole. He's literally in a hole. And as his mental problems get worse, the hole gets literally bigger.
Yes.
And the shelter gets bigger. So that is our metaphor for his mental health, of how big and how deep he is, and in the shelters, how deep he is in his mental hole.
But we also have him going to the doctors.
Yes.
And up front saying like, no, I lied about why I came in.
Well, he feels shame. I mean,
is shame.
There's this. This is set in Ohio, but it's rural Ohio. He feels shame for what he thinks is his mental illness.
Well, and I think this has been talked about in other things. Like, there is a shame around mental health that is a failing in some ways, but he has the added thing of already knowing that this is a problem. This isn't like, no, only crazy people go to... He's like, he doesn't put up a fight. His is more realistic of like, I don't know if I can afford, and also knowing, if I go down this road, I could end up like my mom.
Yeah. And
but he's given medication, which I think is a false hope. He does get a good night's sleep, but this is it is that thing of like, you can't just medicate a problem away.
Yeah, you're treating symptom, not the cause.
Exactly. It's like you need the medication, but you also need to go talk to someone about these problems.
Yeah. And personally, when he starts punishing the dog for his bad dream. And then, I'll jump ahead because this just relates to the dog, but we can come back to where we are of when he actually gets rid of the dog.
Yes.
This was touched me personally because when our mom was sick, and some family friends, and she was feeling very guilty about not being able to walk the family dog, and saying, well, maybe some family friends was like, well, you could rehome the pet. She considered it for a day, and that's when I knew I had to come home for a bit to help out, because in our family that was a giant warning sign of something was worse off, that something was being hidden, that to take a family member like the dog and to get rid of it is, I think, an outwardly warning sign of something is wrong.
True. But I think to counter it in this movie is you definitely see him battling himself.
Yes.
And I saw the caging and then the ultimately giving away as him saying, I need to protect you as well. Is that because, a lot of things, because he knows that every time he has a dream, he's going to have a visceral reaction to the things in the dream. And this was the way of, he is separating.
Yes.
But there are moments where he's like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. And he knows that the dog is going to be better off without him. Yeah. And that is,
No, I'm not saying it's not the responsible. I'm just saying that was a clear warning sign that something is wrong.
Yeah.
And
but as he, is progressing, he is now having audio hallucinations of thunder when there isn't. Yeah. And he is now getting panicked, and he gets his friend involved in a very questionable scheme of taking a loan and expanding his bunker.
And I think that's also because he was latching on to bad news because of that chlorine spill that they mentioned on the news. Like anything that confirms his fear.
Yes.
He blows up versus like, oh, that's just a sad news story. It's like, no, this is going to happen to us.
Yeah, there's like clearly there are signs, and the problem with a paranoid schizophrenic mind is it will latch on to anything that kind of brings the mania to the front, and so stress will exacerbate it. Stories that kind of bolster up the notion will make the paranoia real. And
we get the most expensive dream, I would call, in this one is the third dream of the storm is outside and his daughter's by the window and there's people outside, and then suddenly all the furniture starts lifting up. And this is all CGI, and they joked like this is more CGI than a single shot an Avatar had. But it is that impressive of that familiar home is not safe.
Yes. And we get the as he's doing that, when he goes into like states of clear thought, that he visits his mom to see like, did you have these? He does go to a counselor, and it is that kind of where this is for me where you're like, you're so close. And the first counselor he goes to is sympathetic but lays the ground where like, I can only do so much and you need to do the rest. And to jump ahead of because it's a free clinic and I understand, it's like, but the unprofessionalism of saying like, oh well, she left and I'm taking over, and his reaction is correct of he's been dumped, and this person wants to start over square one, and
I was like, I don't want to deal with that.
And as a client would be more within the right saying like, no, you don't care, is that someone should have given him the heads up. He should never have come into a clinician's office and like, oh well, she's left and I'm the new person. Like, no, that's not appropriate. But I understand that is actually a realistic example of like, listen, an institution that does not have the resources, this is what you're going to get.
So we get now this kind of time frame that Michael Shannon has kind of put on himself. We talked about him having Duarte help him dig the hole, and you could see that this was questionable. And this like, are you sure you want to do that? It's like, yeah, I'll be fine. And then we get the meeting with the doctor and the insurance company saying, yeah, we can totally get your daughter a cochlear implant. We finally your work has amazing insurance. Most insurances won't cover this elective surgery. And then it's like the surgery can be scheduled from 6 weeks from now, and you can see Michael Shannon's face of, can I keep it together for 6 weeks?
And I think he knows he cannot.
And he's desperate, to do this for his daughter because it's what she needs.
Well, and that is the thing of these moments of rational thought versus these moments of emotional panic, and that's, I think, like at the loan office. The loan office is like, this is a really bad idea, but he's in an emotional state of saying, I need. This is going to make us safe.
And there is a debate in the deaf community over the cochlear implant, and I could see of a family who doesn't have any other deaf family members that this is the way to go, because I've read and heard that for a deaf person, it is more isolating than any other sense deprivation one. Like a blind person can still feel included because you can hear constantly, but for a deaf person, there's that feeling of isolation all the time, and that when they get the cochlear implant, it is overwhelmingly positive. But then there's the people who come from deaf families. It's like, no, this is our community. And it's like, no, I could see why this family would choose that in this debate.
Well, I mean, it is kind of heartwarming to see that they are making progress in communicating. But I can also understand that wanting to be able to hear your parents' voices, or we want to be able to talk to you.
Because we as the audience see Hannah learning a new and very important ASL sign, and that is storm. And that won't come into play at all later on.
But this is all kind of coming to an inevitable fight with his wife, because throughout this whole thing, you see people, they are concerned. They do know something's wrong, but because he's keeping everyone at arm's length, they're not sure how to respond.
And we don't see one of the nightmares, because this time we see it from Jessica Chastain's point of view of him having the nightmare next to her, and he describes how now his friend was the attacker in the dream.
Yes.
And I interpreted this, and I don't know if they meant it, But every time someone asks if he's okay, if he needs help, they're the attacker in the next one. You know, like a dog is always a comfort, so maybe that was the first one. And then you got the unnamed faces, but then you got Dwight. And then the following dream, Samantha is the attacker.
No, and I think, you know, the seizure dream, as I'm going to call it, is scary because, and it wasn't really a seizure. He is panicking.
He's tensing up.
He's tensing up, and it's like, the blood is actually, he is bitten through his mouth. I mean, I thought he might have bitten his tongue because it is that scary. Yeah. But you do have that, he's got to come clean. And he's not 100% saying what's going on, but he is letting her know, like, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And we do get a brief visit from his brother.
Yeah, you don't know it's his brother at first, but you get it pretty quickly. Oh, it's Kyle. Okay.
And it's like, it is that shame. Yeah. Like, oh, you're so close to. It's like his brother should know.
Yeah, because his brother was older. His brother was older when his mom. When we learned, you know, from the stories that when his mom was committed, his brother was older and would have seen the signs more than Michael Shannon did.
But I mean, we get the the blue collar response of, you know, you need to, you need to get your stuff in order. Yeah. You know, get man up, cowboy up. Yeah, and it's like, it is a missed opportunity because he does obviously react to his brother, you know, in a both positive and negative way. He is definitely the chastened puppy dog, saying, I'm sorry you came all the way out here, kind of thing. But
it's like all those, like, it's that problem of having not a wonderful America, not having a great mental health or any health establishment, and then that mentality that men don't need to do this. Even with his history, it's like this could have been taken, not care of, but at least started sooner.
Well, and especially because he is a willing participant, which, you know, most cases a movie would focus on.
I'm fine.
50-60% of the movie would just be getting him to admit that there's a problem. It's like, he knows he has a problem right off the bat. But then we do have the wife nightmare, and we as the audience know, like, well, crap, he is now going to be more isolated.
Yeah, from the one person who really, really knows.
But he's able to overcome that.
Yes.
You know, and it is hard for him. You can see that, you know, he has to, like, basically reach backwards and be like, just,
I'm not going to look at, you take, and it's always, you do it for me.
Yeah, but it's like, I cannot do it. Yeah. But then we also get the inevitable, he's fired because he took the equipment off, you know, company property to do this.
Yeah, and he dropped his friend from his shift because he was afraid from the dreams, but because he didn't tell his friend that, his friend thinks like, oh, you think I'm going to rat you out, and then rats him out.
Right. And it's like all these things. It's like it's because of not understanding. It's the bigger picture of not understanding mental health and then reacting to it. But it is this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy of the more stress he's added to it, the more that these these problems are going to get exacerbated.
And the shelter gets bigger, and he's deeper in the hole. And then we get this great scene with Jessica Chastain, you know, coming to terms like, do you want help? And it's like, I do. It's like, okay. And she lays out this phenomenal plan of this is what we're going to do.
She shifts on a dime and says, we will do it.
Yeah.
To then, not uncaring, but saying, let's go to the Lions Club.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was a setup for failure. Yeah. I understand why she wants to do it.
It's what she knows as normal and as
she
community.
Wants to try to, and there is part of you like, I want to return to normal, but it's putting him in a situation that is set up for this freak out.
Because he's surrounded by his old co-workers.
And everyone is kind of walking on eggshells to this moment where he snaps. Yeah. It is that straw of him finally saying what he is feeling of, there is something coming. I am terrified, and none of you are ready.
Yeah. And it's like, and he does hold back. It's like, he's not the one who throws the first punch.
He doesn't even throw the second punch.
No, he just like, please don't do this here.
Yeah.
And it's like, and
then
loses it.
And you know, and
it reminded me again back to Dallas Buyers Club of when he was in the community and when he fit the what was required. Like, okay, you're just, you know, a white blue collar guy. Yeah. You're a part of the community. You're a good Christian. You're gonna be fine. We're gonna love you. But the second you're not part of that community, they turn.
Right. And it is this kind of bringing to that isolation feeling that he's been having to then come to the final dream,
the birds
and the apocalyptic nature to then be woken up to the tornado sirens. And it's like, you want to talk about someone that was already supercharged from the fight. This is now validating. They all run to the shelter. And he gets everyone. I mean, it is sweet because you can see that he wants to keep them safe.
Yeah, it's definitely he wants them safe more than him safe, but this is the only way he knows how to do it.
It's a very scary moment, and I say the scariest moment I think in the movie is when she asks for the key. And part of you's like, oh crap.
They're trapped
in there. And
his depression has trapped them, or his his mental health has trapped them with him.
Exactly.
In the hole,
And it is these few moments of tense, like, do they have it? And he does have it. And Jessica Chastain does an excellent job saying, it won't matter if I open up if you don't do it yourself. And then there is a term in psychology of when you have a phobia. One way to get over is called flooding. It's like, let's say you're afraid of, I'll use the crazy example, bees. Is one method would be to put your hand in a box full of bees. And when they don't hurt you, it tells your brain it's okay. But it is an intense situation, and it is not recommended. To start off the bat of It is. He has to do that, and that's probably terrifying. But he opens the door,
and there's literally the light. He comes in the light.
Sun. People are going about their daily lives. And he, goes and sees the psychologist who says, this is going to be a long road. And you might have to be separated from your family. And that's,
which is his greatest fear.
And that's not a thing he wants to do, but he is open to the idea. But he says, let's take this one last vacation.
Yes.
And I think I like the non-verbal acting in the very end of, the daughter says there's a storm.
Signs the storm.
He looks over and he looks back to his wife to get confirmation. There's just a subtle nod. And it doesn't necessarily mean that this is the post-apocalyptic thing, but it's saying, no, you are seeing what you're seeing. Well, and him kind of almost like a child saying, can we go to the shelter? And she's kind of saying, it's okay.
So, this is very much the continuation of, I need you to touch the, he asks her for confirmation, like, it's still storming out, please touch the door. And she does. It's like, it's not storming. Look at me. It's not storming. So when he looks back at her at the beach storm, this giant storm, and she nods, it's that confirmation. And here is where the interpretations come from.
Yes.
So you have the apocalypses are real, and he is a soothsayer. That's a fine interpretation. I find it to be the less interesting of one.
Well, it is that old adage, like, if there was, a biblical prophet today, would they be believed? And the answer is no, because it sounds crazy.
But I find, because of what the story is, of what we know of him and what Curtis has gone through, I like the interpretation of that this is another dream. Either they're on vacation or they're about to go on vacation. And he now has not his daughter scared of the storm of what's coming, but giving him a forewarning. And then him looking at Samantha, Jessica Chastain's character, and she confirming that he sees it. He now has allies in his head. And this is the first, he is talking to a therapist or a psychologist. It's a long road to recovery. This is going to get worse before it gets better because he's going to be separated from his family, his biggest fear, the biggest storm. But he now has allies in his head. He is not alone.
I mean,
that's how I find that the more interesting.
I took the reality of it. Of no, this is a real storm.
Okay.
They are really seeing it, but it harkens back to when he was in the car and he stops and he's looking at the lightning and he says, is anyone seeing this? And at that moment, the camera pans to Jessica Chastain.
And she's asleep.
Is to say, like, no, in an artistic interpretation, we are all on board with your mental health. This is real, and we are going to go to the shelter because it makes you feel safe. It's very much like, but not to infantilize it, but say, like, when your kid is scared of a thunderstorm, you let them crawl into bed with you to make them feel safe. Is that she is saying, no, this is a real storm. This looks like a bad storm. It's not, you got water spouts out in the ocean. But I am going to say it's okay to go to the shelter, and I'm going to be your ally through this process.
The only problem I have with that is there's no beaches in Ohio.
No. They didn't say they're going to Ohio.
Well, they're in Ohio. But then they're at the ocean.
Yeah, but they had established that they were going to go to the beach.
No, I know, but I say to go back to the shelter would be a
I'm not saying that that's not irrational.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's but he is asking for permission to stop the trip.
Okay.
And so I'm saying, in a reality thing, is she is saying it is okay. We can go home.
Okay.
That's my
okay.
Yeah. So it's not saying there are beaches in Ohio.
Okay.
It's saying no. We drove all the way out to Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach
is where she wanted to go.
It's where blue collar families go to. If you watch October Skies, it's where you go.
Everyone goes to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
But it's her saying it's okay.
Yeah.
We can stop the trip and go home.
Yeah. No.
And that's my interpretation.
And that's the thing of this last scene is it's up for debate. It's up for it's to make you talk. What do you think is happening? And I like this one a lot better than other movies. The big famous one, Christopher Nolan and Leo DiCaprio in the Brain one, with the spinny top at the end.
Inception.
Inception. Yeah.
No, and that's more. I don't even want to say pop psychology. That's just more fun playing with dreamscapes.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying the end where is it real or is it not?
Yeah.
That up for debate. Not the actual whole movie. I did something at the end to make you debate. And it's like, no. That one I was like, I wish you hadn't done that. Where this one, it's like, no.
No, and I think this is fun because it does make you say, what is real? Mm-hmm. And I think that's an important thing in talking about paranoid schizophrenia. Yeah. It's like, there is what I think is real, and what the movie does at the end is like, what does it feel like?
Yeah.
And the feeling is there of, well, they're scared. Yeah. She's, saying, no, this is real. We can all feel that moment of, well, this is scary. And that is what the character feels like. That's a scary feeling.
Yeah.
And if you had a scary feeling, how would you act on it?
Yeah.
And I think this is a movie that kind of sat with me, and I had to sit there and think about it from, a clinician point of view, from a father's point of view, from, an audience point of view. And I think it does a really good job. And it's like, it upset me.
Yeah.
And it is upsetting.
It is upsetting. That's why it's like when I say, I'm glad I have this in my collection, it's not because I ever really, really, really want to rewatch it, but there are people who I know I can suggest this to. Is like, let's sit down, let's watch this. I know you're going to get something out of this, and I'm glad that I have watched.
And like I said, from a clinician's point of view, saying like, this does a really good job from a Hollywood point of view of showing how a mental health situation can just start out of the blue. And that's the scary thing about paranoid schizophrenia is it can just start one day. And there are no warning signs. And it can snowball really quickly. And I think it also shows the positive thing of a person who is taking proactive steps to A, address their paranoid schizophrenia, but B, showing that it's not, the old Hollywood adage of like, oh, I'm gone crazy, I'm going to do crazy things. Like, no, you are normal, but the fear is real, and that you really do want to protect your loved ones. And it's not just ghosts and goblins in your head.
And we talked about his meeting with his mother, that he's like, he missed the opportunity of like, she didn't have dreams, but she had the same fear.
Yes, it is that, and if I have to strike home, it's not the hallucinations, which feel real, or they see them. It's the feeling that those images provoke, and that is what the person is going off of. If it feels real, then it is real, and that is how we are hardwired as in our lizard brains to. If you feel that there's something scary, you're going to run.
Yeah, and just please go get help.
Yeah,
I mean that is the message of this whole movie, and hopefully this podcast of just please go get help.
Go get help. Talk to somebody you trust, loved ones.
Maybe a father, a mother, an uncle. Uncle Buck's our next movie.
Oh, that is...
I did not know how to transition from a sad movie to a happy movie. That's the best I got, and I hope you all appreciated that.
Please forgive,
the gear stripping.
Yes. After a tough movie, we should go to something that is beyond lighthearted.
Yes.
And that is the late John Candy's Uncle Buck.
Yeah, of another family come together moment, but
dealing with a situation that can only be solved by giant pancakes.
Oh, who doesn't love giant pancakes? That's so funny.
So yes, if you had a chance to watch this movie, wonderful. If not, you enjoyed our brief movie. Take a moment. breathe and
Yes.
go watch a lighthearted John Candy 80s movie about an uncle who has no idea what he's doing.
Exactly. I might have some, some
Feelings?
thoughts
about being an
on
uncle?
some personal, feelings on that. But thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye. Yeah, I was really worried about that transition.
Hey, we're talking serious. Let me be a complete ass.
Yeah, I was like, if we ever get to Schindler's List, it's like, I hope the movie after that's not bad.
Schindler's List?
And after,
Were you eating Pez?
It's like, what's after Schindler's List? Why, it's Wayne's World. No, that's not how alphabets work.
It'd
but
be a T, but Tarzan?
And, ooh, Disney's Tarzan. Yeah, no. Yeah.